Here now, former executive at Anheuser-Busch and Strive Asset Management co-founder Anson Frericks. Anson, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So, how does this play out?
Good evening.
Does Bush give a mea culpa for their misguided relationship with the transgender individual, or do they stick to their guns and still lose to Miller and Coors?
So what I hope they end up doing is not just doing some of the real small cosmetic changes they've made already, which is replacing some of their marketing team. I think what they need to be doing moving forward is being clear about who they will be accountable to. Is it going to be the shareholders of the organization, or is it going to be the stakeholders of the organization? And let me explain that. Historically, Anheuser-Busch has been accountable to its shareholders, the firefighters, doctors, police officers, that either their pension funds or 401ks are invested in Anheuser-Busch, and Anheuser-Busch is expected to make great products and services like an apolitical Bud Light that drives value for those shareholders. Recently, though, they have adopted a form of stakeholder capitalism, which is pushed by companies like BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard that ask companies to be accountable to all stakeholders. These include activists and political organizations. And unfortunately, when Anheuser-Busch is beholden to these stakeholders, they end up being everything to everyone and actually nothing to anyone.
And Anson, tell the audience, as you worked within Anheuser-Busch in a senior management job. So you know this firsthand, and all this talk about ESG, it gets Sean so excited because it upsets him that this is the focus of all of these major corporations. And a company like Anheuser-Busch, it sounds so simple, but they've turned the business into not selling beer to the masses.
It's crazy. This should be very, very simple. Bud Light is one of the most apolitical brands. It brings people together, whether you're Democrat or Republican, at football games and backyard barbecues. That's what it does. That's the purpose of Bud Light. Stick to that purpose, because there's, frankly, tens of thousands of people that are relying on the company. There's a bunch of independent, family-owned distributors in every single city across this country that distribute their brands. They want this brand to be successful. They want it to get back to its roots. They wanted to get back just being about fun, bringing us together. And that's what's made Bud Light special over the years, not getting involved in these sort of divisive political issues.
But Anson, it seems like more companies are getting involved in the politics of the day, making political statements, as opposed to saying, I don't care about politics. I'm about making money. I'm about selling as much of my product to as many people as possible. But that seems to be like a thing of the early 2000s. No longer today is that's the motto of companies any longer.
You know, it's problematic. And what's really scary about this as well is that a lot of these corporations here in the U.S., they're adopting this stakeholder capitalism model, which has been around in Europe for 40 years, as opposed to the U.S. shareholder primacy model espoused by Milton Friedman for the last 40 years. And what's scary about it is European broad-based markets, they tend to trail the U.S. by 200 to 300 basis points per year. So over the last 40 years, it's been thousands of basis points have been lost if you were a European investor in the stakeholder capitalism model versus the U.S. model. So at Strive, this is one of the things that we're trying to do is bring back that shareholder primacy, reminding folks that if you're a pension fund or if you're investing for the long run, that you have to decide, am I going to accept 200 to 300 basis points per year in declining results with this stakeholder capitalism model, or do I want to have shareholder primacy? So we're trying to lead the charge. We're trying to remind folks, be accountable to your shareholders. That's what drives value. That's what's going to continue to unleash the potential of American free market capitalism is shareholder primacy, not this idea of stakeholder capitalism.
Right. Strive equals not woke. Anson Frericks, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Good stuff.
Thanks, Anson.